I can't get up. Roll the dice. What? You have to roll the dice. What is the dice roll actually for? In this video, I will go over the most important things regarding this topic so you can understand and play Baldur's Gate 3 without any confusion. So let's dive right in. Well, we begin with the main dice, the D20, the 20-sided dice, which is mainly here to decide if you succeed or fail in certain situations. They are used for ability checks, attack rolls and saving throws. I will give you examples to each of them. So let's start right with the first example. Let's say you see a chest in this world and you want the treasure inside. Well, so here the dice would be used for an ability check. And the ability check here would be of something like lockpicking. So you will roll a D20 and see if you get high enough. But how do you know? Well, in many games, chests and so on have different difficulties. Here it is described as the difficulty class, in short form DC. So the game will give the chest a DC and you have to roll the D20 and beat it. If the chest has a difficulty class of, let's say, 17, you would have to throw a 17 or higher to be able to open the lock. If you would be under 17, you wouldn't be able to open up the lock. It is the same thing for, let's say, attack rolls. Let's say you want to attack an enemy which is a few feet from you away. He won't have a difficulty class, he will have the so-called armor class, which is basically the same. It is the number of his defense which you have to beat. So the same process. Let's say he also have a 17 as an armor class. Same process. If you succeeded in the roll, you can hit him. But the thing is, the D20 won't do any damage. So after you hit him, you can roll another dice for damage. But to this topic I will come a little later. And at the third piece of the D20 we have the saving throws, which are basically only there to decide if you can resist certain spells, poisons or traps which are getting in your way. And that is like the absolute basic info for the D20. So maybe you already saw things like this: 1d4, 2d6, 1d8 and so on. Those are just showing you how many dice of the corresponding type you are going to throw. Let's say here the 1d4 means you will throw one 4-sided dice. The 2d6 means that you will throw two 6-sided dice and so on. That's basically the whole meaning from this. But when are you using this? Well, they are basically there to decide how much damage or for how much you heal for, let's say. If you think about the attack situation from before, I roll an 18. Perfect, I can hit him. But so I can inflict damage, I now have to roll the dice which corresponds to my character. I just say anything now. But let's say I hit and I can now deal the damage corresponding to my character, which would be 2d6. So I roll two 6-sided dice and add the sum together, and this is the damage I would deal to the enemy. Those are like the other dice, okay? There are also two important notes to make. So if you're in game or if you're playing and you would roll a natural 20, so with your first throw you roll straight up a 20 in an attack, then you will crit the enemy, which means that you can deal 2x the damage to them. And also important, a natural crit disregards the enemy armor class. So if you would roll a 20 but the enemy has an armor class of 25, the armor class is like gone completely. It wouldn't matter, you hit and crit and deal double the damage. The same is for rolling a 1, which is like the exact opposite. If you roll a 1, you just automatically miss everything. Okay? So what if I attack someone with an armor class of 16 and I roll a 14? Do I hit or miss? Basically I would miss, except I have modifiers which increase my power and give me at least +2 in the roll to equal out the armor class. Maybe you have seen this in some videos that you roll a dice and then suddenly the number goes up and you have a high enough number to hit the enemy. This is basically what I'm talking about now. And this is an important part of understanding the dice rolls, because in the character character creation, you will have a bunch of different things to choose from. And whatever you choose and how you level up your character can give you additional points in specific abilities, which will determine in what things you are good at and in what things you are basically useless. Okay? I would like to straight up get into them because there are the main 6 abilities in the character selection which we are seeing right away, which is the strength, dexterity, constitution, intelligence, wisdom and charisma. Those are deciding in how you are going to play the game and in which things you are good at. The dexterity are like the acrobatics. A dexterity check can model any attempt to move nimbly, quickly or quietly, or to keep from falling on dangerous passages. Okay? Then the next one would be the strength, which is there for, let's say, a strength check, which can model any attempt to lift, push, pull or break something, or just to force your way through a space. Next off, we would have the intelligence. The intelligence check come into play when you need to draw on logic, education, memory or deductive reasoning. The arcana, history, investigation, nature and religion skills reflect those areas. Then we have the wisdom. The wisdom check might reflect an effort to read body language, understand someone's feelings, notice things about the environment or care for an injured person. The animal handling, insight, medicine, perception and survival skills reflect these wisdom checks. Then we have the constitution checks, which are no specific skills. You can see them as an attempt to push beyond normal limits. For example, holding your breath, go without sleep, survive without food or water, etc. Then at last we have the charisma check, which will arise when you try to influence others. So, the deception, intimidation, performance and persuasion skills reflect this area and are a huge part in, let's say, dialogue. If you upgrade charisma, then you will get those bonus points in persuading other persons, which is amazing. So basically what and how you invest in those areas will result in bonuses in the corresponding fields. And they are the so-called modifiers. Which brings us to the last point, the modifiers. I give you an example right away. You want to push open a heavy door and the difficulty class of the door is 12. You have to roll at least a 12 or higher, but you don't have any luck today. You roll a 10. So what do you have to do? So you would have to have at least a strength modifier of +2 so you can increase your score by 2. So 10 plus 2 is 12 and the difficulty class is 12. So success, you can open the door. But the main thing is, how do you know the amount of the plus amount of the modifiers? Well, it's quite simple. I would say if you heard it once, at your character selection you can see the total amount of strength, dexterity, etc. which you have invested in. So, if you, let's see, have a character with +16 in strength, that doesn't mean that your modifier is +16 and that you roll, let's say, a 3 and get +16 on this roll. No. So that you get your real modifier, you have to do a little bit of math. It's simple, don't worry. It's basically on everything the same. You take the main number, which is here 16, give it -10 and divide it by 2, which would come out to a 3. So your strength modifier would be 3 in this example. And that's basically everywhere the same. But that also means if you are looking at certain stats that you can have a minus modifier. Because let's say that your character is pretty weak. You have only 6 in strength. So do the math. 6 minus 10 is -4 and divided by 2 is -2. So let's say you would try to open a heavy door and you roll the exact number of 12 you would need to open the door. But your character is weak and you have a strength modifier of -2, then you have a 10 and you now can't open the door. I know those are a lot of things at the beginning and many numbers and so on, but I think the main part about this whole area is to just have to have heard it at least once so that you understand what everything means. Why are the different dices? Why do you roll a 20? Why are there suddenly +2 and +3 or minus numbers and so on? And I think the main part and the most important part about understanding what the dice rolls isn't the mechanic behind it or something. It's it's the ability for you to decide on which character traits and which character decisions you make, because those things will influence those areas, and I think that's the most important part for understanding the dice rolls in this whole area. So you can just make the character you want and don't make any, I don't want to say stupid mistakes, but just maybe not the best thing possible. Okay, I hope I made it somehow clear how it works. And so, you know, those are just the basics and how everything works, and I hope you understood it. If not, give me the feedback. I will try to make it better in the future, but I tried it. So I hope you have a great day. Bye.